What's going on, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to a brand new episode of Caffeinate today for January the 3rd of 2019. My name is Samuel Adams, and welcome to the show. For those that don't know, this is a daily gaming news podcast where I bring you the hottest gaming news from around the industry and let you know what's happening in the industry that we all love. Now, of course, the show is hosted live on twitch.tv/thesamueladams, and you can catch it every single weeknight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time if you did want to check it out. 5 days a week if you did want that kind of thing in your life. Now, of course, after the show, it is downloaded and put up on youtube.com/SamuelAdamsMedia and podcast services around the world if you are into the audio version of the show, which I know that many people are. Now, the question is, what are we going to be talking about today? Games are massive around the world, but the UK numbers are particularly impressive, with games now accounting for over half of the entire UK entertainment market. On top of that, a brand new version of the Xbox One controller might be coming, if the Microsoft patents are to be believed. On top of that, Rebellion has a brand new studio. A bunch of former top Hearthstone designers are making a Marvel game. Industry Analyst predicts that The Elder Scrolls 6 is coming in 2019, but don't get your hopes up. They're without a doubt wrong. That's not happening. Japan has banned gray market key reselling. Twitch streamer has been unbanned. Despite domestic violence incident, we will talk about Mr. Deadmoth, who is literally a shit stain on the earth. I mean that in the most wholehearted way. And finally, if you were wanting to get in on the Dreams beta, you have the opportunity, even if you haven't been an insider receiving the newsletter, because a public beta is going to be coming soon, and I'll tell you all about that. But again, to those that are brand new to the show, I hope you do enjoy what you find. And again, the show is hosted live on twitch.tv/thesamueladams 5 days a week if you did want to check it out. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the gaming news of the day. First off, video games now account for more than half of the entire UK entertainment market, according to a new report from the Entertainment Retailers Association. The UK games industry was worth 3.86 billion euros, which is roughly $4.85 billion in 2018, which is more than double the combined the combined 4.62 billion value of the country's video and music industries. Although the games market is now the biggest in UK entertainment, year-over-year sales of physical console and PC titles actually fell by about 2.8%, while digital sales increased by 12.5% themselves. That upswing means digital sales generated 80.1% of the UK's video game revenue in 2018, although a lot of the biggest selling titles such as FIFA 19, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Black Ops 4 still did well at retail. Overall, the ERA believes games come out on top because of the sheer scale of the industry, and noted that the video game market now has more than doubled in value since 2007. Quote, the games industry has been incredibly effective in taking advantage of the potential of digital technology to offer new and compelling forms of entertainment, commented ERA CEO Kim Bailey. Despite being the youngest of our three sectors, it is now by far the biggest. You can find out more by checking out the ERA's full report right there via a link in the article, and we have also taken the liberty of highlighting the UK's best-selling physical console games of 2018 below, with unsurprisingly the top three being FIFA 19, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Call of Duty Black Ops 4, followed by other stellar games. This is very impressive. This shows just how big the gaming industry is becoming as we move into 2019, because quite frankly, who would have thought that games would account for more than half of the overall UK entertainment market? I personally didn't expect it to be quite that big of a cut, but hey, what can I say? I'm not really necessarily surprised at this because, again, it is something that everybody enjoys. With the rise of Fortnite and so many other games becoming so mainstream, it's no shocker to see that these games are doing very well at retail and in digital storefronts, but overall, very cool to see that gaming is becoming such a large mainstream, front of the audience kind of setting, and that would be a pretty awesome thing to see continue to grow, which I personally believe we are going to be seeing more growth in 2019. A lot of good games coming out. So we'll see what the American numbers look like if those do come out at some point. But as far as the UK goes, games now account for over half of the entire UK entertainment market. Now, if you did want to get in on some of the hottest games coming out around the world, you might play on the Xbox One, and you might play with an Xbox One controller. Of course, now you can sort of kind of use mouse and keyboard for a couple of games, but hey, you could be getting a brand new version of the Xbox One controller according to some brand new Microsoft patents. If these upgrades are implemented, there is no word when they could be coming. Microsoft might be rolling out new upgrades to its Xbox One controller in the future. The company filed 2 patents for its controller's triggers back in June of 2017, the first for triggers with an input device with linear geared feedback, and the second for triggers with motor-driven adjustable tension, and both were granted in December of 2018. Together, both patents focus on providing greater feedback when pulling the trigger on an Xbox One controller, which should increase the level of responsiveness in games where the triggers are used for action-specific tasks, like shooting or running. Both patents only include a diagram of the Xbox One controller, but if these upgrades were to roll out, Microsoft would potentially implement them in Xbox One Elite controllers as well. Windows Latest, which provides first reported on the patents, theorized these designs might also be for entirely new controllers instead of upgrades to existing ones. In 2018, the Xbox One faced another year without many noteworthy first-party exclusives for their console. However, Microsoft did take steps to improve how people play games with the release of both the Xbox Adaptive Controller and mouse and keyboard support for the console. And they go on to talk more about the successes that the Xbox One saw in 2018, of which there were many, but the console still lacks overall. However, when talking about the future, I think this is where this gets very interesting, because if I'm understanding these patents correctly, this makes the Xbox triggers on the controllers much more versatile, because, for instance, if you are racing in Forza, to be able to feel feedback in the triggers whenever you are revving that engine, whenever you feel that you are gaining more momentum and speed, to be able to feel that feedback in your fingers whenever you're holding the triggers, that's something that is very cool. And on top of that, even to be able to feel some feedback when you're firing a gun in something like Call of Duty or Battlefield or Halo or any of these other big FPS games or even third-person shooter games, that would be very cool to be able to see that come about in the next generation of consoles. Now, the big question, is this going to be implemented before the next generation of consoles rolls around? In my opinion, probably not. But it's not beyond the realm of reason, because throughout the rest of the Xbox One lifecycle, we did see a new iteration of the Xbox One controller come around that did not require any kind of adapter to use a 3.5mm headphone set. So, if they can make that kind of adjustment and just kind of roll out new controllers as they ship out brand new shipments, well, I don't see why they couldn't go ahead and make some improvements. But this just seems like less of a quality of life kind of change and more of a big improvement, like you would note during some kind of keynote or press conference. So, we'll see what happens at E3. I would say this is not going to be seen in the public eye for at least 6 months. I couldn't imagine it being any sooner than that. However, we will see what Microsoft has up their sleeve as the next generation of Xbox does approach. And with a new console reportedly coming out in 2019, it could be a very interesting year for those that are fans of Microsoft's console line. And speaking of games coming to Microsoft's console line, Rebellion has some apparently in the works, because there is a brand new studio acquired by Rebellion, now called Rebellion North, formerly TickTock Studios. Sniper Elite and Strange Brigade developer Rebellion has acquired Yorkshire-based studio TickTock Games for an undisclosed fee. TickTock will become Rebellion's 4th UK studio, joining Rebellion Liverpool and Rebellion Warwick as sister studios to the company's headquarters in Oxford, and will be known as Rebellion North moving forward. For those unfamiliar with TickTock, the company has recently worked on a couple of Rebellion titles, including Rogue Trooper Redux and the Switch version of Battlezone Gold Edition. Quote, "Bringing more great people to the company is a great way to start 2019, said Rebellion CEO and co-founder Jason Kingsley, OBE, in a press release. The company continues to grow, and it's important we bring in the right people as part of that process. We've worked with the team at TickTock Games for a while now, and we know they'll continue to prosper as Rebellion North." And so, if you are a fan of the guys over there at Rebellion and you're a fan of Sniper Elite, Strange Brigade, and games like them, then you have some good news, my friend, because guess what? More content coming out with 4 studios now under their belt. Good stuff, in my opinion. Good stuff. So we'll see what they come up with. Again, as a freshly acquired studio, could be a couple of years before we see them pumping out games that do hit store shelves, but cool to see that things are on track to become a larger part of the gaming industry over the next few years. It's a good studio, I promise. But speaking of brand new games coming out, a bunch of former top Hearthstone designers are making a brand new Marvel game. Former Hearthstone director Ben Brody and a group of his colleagues left Blizzard last year, and although they haven't yet announced what they are making next, today they dropped some big news. It's a Marvel game. Second Dinner, a new indie studio founded by Brody, former Hearthstone executive producer Hamilton Shue, and several other ex-Blizzard employees, announced today that it's gotten a $30 million investment from the Chinese company NetEase, and that its first game will be set in the Marvel universe. The company is hiring new staff in Irvine, California. This news comes after a rough 2018 for Blizzard, one that saw the departure of not just Brody and Shue, but its CEO Mike Morhaime, who left the company last October. It was a year full of frugality for the iconic studio as cost-cutting became a watchword. Current and former Blizzard employees continue to express fear about Activision's growing influence on the company through executives like Chief Operating Officer Armin Zerza, I believe is how you say that name, and fans also revolted after a disastrous BlizzCon keynote in November of 2018 that closed with the announcement of Diablo Immortal, a game made for phones. Ooh, that's rough. Incidentally, NetEase, the company funding Second Dinner, is also a co-developer on Diablo Immortal. It has partnered with Blizzard on the Chinese version of games like Hearthstone and World of Warcraft, and last June it invested $100 million in Bungie for a brand new IP. And so, we'll see what these guys come up with. Now, as far as a Marvel game goes, coming from Hearthstone designers, could it be a Marvel card game, a comic book trading card game? I wouldn't say no. It kind of makes sense considering the, specific set of skills this group of individuals has, but the cool thing about being a game developer is that you can push yourself and try new things, and the mobile platform is such a big open space. You can do pretty much whatever you want. However, not even confirmed it is a mobile game. It could be something on the consoles, could be something on only PC. Again, very few details as to what they are actually working on right now, but what we do know is that they have $30 million to work with, and on top of that, they have some pretty good staff with a lot of history behind them, and so we'll see what they come up with, but right now, again, very early in development, seems to be the trend for the day. Not too much known, just a lot of stuff coming down the pipe that we'll talk about more in the future. But right now, pretty exciting to see that they are trying some new things, and that the guys have landed on their feet with brand new ideas coming down the pipe. But speaking of brand new ideas, The Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be making some waves in the next few years, but one industry analyst has predicted it is going to arrive in 2019. And they, without a doubt, are wrong. Absolutely wrong. Elder Scrolls 6 is coming in 2019, so says the bold and bolder prediction of Michael Patcher, the much-quoted analyst for investment firm Wedbush Securities, in the article from GameIndustry.biz. The article includes guesses about 2019's gaming trends from a handful of expert industry analysts who make predictions about consoles, game streaming, and game announcements, as well as releases for the benefit of investors. Patcher's prediction that The Elder Scrolls 6 will arrive in 2019, however, really stood out to us, they say at PC Gamer, as being wrong. The flop of Fallout 76 makes a hit more essential for Bethesda, and I expect them to accelerate development of Elder Scrolls 6, Patcher says. We kind of don't think so, though, they say at PC Gamer, and I say as well. Based on everything we know about The Elder Scrolls 6, it sounds like the release is most likely still years away. It was announced at E3 even without containing a proper title and with only the tiniest scrap of vague footage to accompany it. Bethesda's upcoming space RPG Starfield is supposed to precede it too, and we'd highly doubt even that is coming in 2019, and it's pretty unlikely that even if Bethesda does accelerate development and leapfrog Starfield, that Elder Scrolls 6 could be finished in 2019 anyways. After the extremely rough release of Fallout 76, Bethesda could indeed use a well-received game launch, but rushing a massive RPG like Elder Scrolls 6 out the door surely would not be a good idea. Patcher cops to his history of being wrong about The Elder Scrolls 6 in prior years too. Quote, "This was my prediction from 2017 and 2016, he adds in the same article. One of these years his prediction will be right, but it definitely won't be this year." And of course, the author of this article does go on to talk more about the reason that he does not believe that the game is actually going to be coming out in 2019. But to be quite honest with you, it's just a fact. There is no way that Bethesda could launch The Elder Scrolls 6 in 2019 and be successful in doing it. I mean, could you actually copy and paste a lot of elements from Elder Scrolls 5 and create a game and pump it out and call it Elder Scrolls 6? Yeah, sure, but it's not going to be that finely tuned, that exquisite kind of gameplay, that amazingly crafted world that people expect from a brand new Elder Scrolls game. No, it's going to be something that nobody really wants, more than likely, aside from the hardcore fanboys that are currently busy playing Fallout 76. But I digress. Bethesda has a lot of work to do, but they also have a lot of money and plenty of funding to go ahead and support the next couple of years of development. And again, tons of stuff coming down the pipe and many dollars flowing in through stuff like Fallout Shelter and the Elder Scrolls card game. Again, Elder Scrolls 6 supposedly coming in 2019, but oh, that is very incorrect, good sir. That is very, very incorrect. There is no way. But if you did want to buy a bootlegged copy of the Elder Scrolls 6 when it comes out, you can't do it in Japan because Japan has banned gray market key reselling. Japan is cracking down on unauthorized key reselling, a practice that's usually differentiated from common theft by nothing more than technicalities and semantics. In revising its Unfair Competition Protection Act, Japan has outlawed 3 specific actions. Number 1, distributing tools and programs from altering safe data. Number 2, reselling software product keys online without the creator's permission. And 3, offering services that modify save data on the customer's behalf. This change comes about because Japan now recognizes data as a type of intellectual property that should be protected by law. People found in violation of the subject are criminal people found in violation of are subject to criminal and or civil action, resulting in fines of up to 5 million yen, which is about $46.5 million, $1,000, up to 5 years in prison, or even both. It's a big question. Would you rather pay $46,500 or go to prison for 5 years? Depends on the prison. This new legislature significantly impacts companies like the Hong Kong-based G2A, who acts as the middleman for people looking to sell spare game keys. The problem is that keys resold on G2A are often initially purchased with stolen credit cards, and when the credit card charges are eventually reversed, it's the game developer who is left without any compensation. However, this new measure will seemingly also extend to someone who's selling a legitimate copy of a game through an external site such as eBay. Sites like G2A are referred to as gray market because they exist in a sort of moral middle ground. They retain enough plausible deniability so as to stay off the hook for theft, even if they are oftentimes the indirect facilitators of theft. And up until now, no governments have really taken a stance against gray market key reselling. Japan is the first to do it, even if it seems as though the new regulations overreach a bit. Interesting moves coming from the guys in Japan right now, because it's always been strange to me to see these key reselling kind of businesses begin to flourish in a way. And G2A is the prime example, because I'm not afraid to admit I've used G2A before, and many people have, but it's not that it's right, it's that it's cheap. And that's the big thing that needs to be combated here, is that you have to take these sites down, but it's so difficult because people want to get cheap games regardless of how they actually get the game. It doesn't matter if it's legal or not. People will pay for cheap games into the future and always. It's just kind of how it is. But with that being said, it is something that is worth combating, because whenever it really gets down to the nitty-gritty, there are developers behind the scenes that need to be paid for the work. And whenever somebody steals a game and sells it on G2A or eBay or wherever they might be selling it, that's when you have a problem, because eventually the developers don't get their money and people just get free games, or at least games that are being profited off of in an illegal way. I digress. To break it down further in more simple terms, stealing game bad, therefore Japan take action. Complex news show for you here tonight. But speaking of taking action, I want to beat this guy up, and then I want to give him a swirly. And then I want to beat him up again, because the Twitch streamer Mr. Deadmoth has been unbanned despite domestic violence incident on stream, mind you, on stream. Twitch streamer Mr. Deadmoth has had his ban lifted after an alleged domestic abuse incident occurred during a live stream in early December. Mr. Deadmoth, whose real name is Luke Monday, was arrested following the incident and still faces a trial, but Twitch deemed his online punishment served and his channel is free to go live once again. And I want to reiterate, his name is Luke Monday. Again, Luke Monday. Luke Monday. Not like the day, but like the day with a U. Find him, by all means. Just kidding. I'm not encouraging you to do that. You know? As one would expect, the debate surrounding the ban has been heated. While most expected Mr. Deadmoth's ban would be a permanent one, the fact that he can now stream again has called into question Twitch's inconsistency when enforcing its rules. The domestic abuse incident in question occurred on December the 9th while Mr. Deadmoth was streaming Fortnite. In clips captured and displayed online, Monday's pregnant wife can be heard requesting his assistance with increased urgency. Eventually, Monday steps away from his stream and a noise can be heard in the background, and then his wife claims that Monday just hit her. Monday was arrested the following day and released on bail, and the trial is currently in process, but Monday was able to stream on Wednesday. What clips online don't typically show is that Monday's wife can be seen throwing items at him and berating him during the stream. By no means is this justification for Monday's response, but it is important to understand the full picture. Currently, Twitch has yet to comment on Mr. Deadmoth's ban and what exactly is going on. It's entirely possible the ban, lifted automatically and Twitch has other plans, but the streaming giant is now in a sticky situation. Turning the ban back on undermines the punishment in the first place and further calls into question the company's inability to be consistent. There has long been a debate about Twitch and its bans and how to keep things consistent. Where one streamer might be banned for a month for using a racial or homophobic slur, another will see their ban lifted in a few days. And things only become more muddled when the streamer whose ban is lifted is a female and the one whose ban is upheld is a male. Not to mention when high-profile streamers use a slur and don't get banned at all. It is unlikely that this situation will simply play out as is, but for right now, there is a Twitch community looking for some kind of explanation, and I am a member of that community. This is a difficult one, because I think that one of the most untalked about, or that's not really a good phrase, now is it? One of the most overlooked phrases or specific parts of this entire story is that the wife apparently, allegedly, according to Game Rant, also physically, gets involved with Mr. Deadmoth during his streams. And so that complicates things even further. But what I want to lay down right now, and I've said this before whenever this story first came out, don't hit each other. If you're in a relationship, talk it out. If you can't talk it out, simply leave. Just leave. And overwhelmingly, get help. Get some kind of professional help. Go to counseling, stuff like that. But to have this individual be somebody who has a platform, I can't really get behind that, because there is power in having any kind of platform, regardless of whether it's on Mixer, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it might be. Whenever you have a platform, you can influence people. And let's say that this dude's playing Fortnite and a 9-year-old is watching the stream, which happens a lot. 9 years old and younger even. Let's say that these individuals are watching the stream and they see Mr. Deadmoth hit his wife, or they hear him hit his wife. That is, in a way, condoning that behavior. That is in a way saying and telling these individuals that this is okay. This is how you are supposed to treat people whenever they interrupt you while you're playing Fortnite or whatever game you might be playing. And that's the kind of concept that I don't get behind. That's the kind of concept that really rubs me the wrong way, because you should never in any kind of situation get physically involved with somebody, or I would even say verbally involved with somebody. Work it out and stay calm is always my go-to response to this kind of thing. But again, there are a lot of people that are much more susceptible to being influenced to react to the same or similar situation based off of what they see online, and that's something that's not acceptable. So if I were the Twitch police, I would absolutely ban Mr. Deadmoth for life. I think that nobody should have a platform that is going to react in that kind of way and to condone that kind of behavior. That's not worthy of being on the site. But again, it depends on how you look at things. Again, if you want to watch his streams, by all means dive into it. I, for one, will be staying far away, because if there is one thing I've learned in life, it's that if you mess with a turd, you're going to get shit on you. Moving on to the final story of the day. Sign up for the Dreams public beta starts tomorrow if you did want to get in and have some good dreams. Media Molecule may have promised a Dreams beta in 2018, but since we are all still writing 2018 whenever we have to date things, I think we can forgive them. The studio behind the anticipated creation tool has announced that signups for the public beta are coming really soon, like tomorrow soon. Much to Media Molecule's style, these signups will be going the same day that the developers held a live stream, which will presumably elucidate? Sure, why not? Explain, expound upon, provide the final details on how and where you can sign up to be a part of the public beta. The live stream will also go into tips and tricks for using Dreams, which will no doubt be pretty entertaining on its own, but you can find the full blog post on their official site, which is linked in the article, which is linked down below in the YouTube video. But this is different from the closed beta held last month, which was closed to everyone but a very small subset of known users. This one still requires signing up, but it is available to the entire public, and Dreams has been an anticipated game since the PS4 exclusive was first revealed at the PlayStation meeting in 2013. The live stream will air on Friday, January the 4th at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Media Molecule's Twitch channel, which is, I would assume, twitch.tv/Media Molecule, Media_Molecule. There you go. So if you did want to check that out, again, that stream is tomorrow, and then you can sign up for the beta if you were into that kind of thing. But I'm very morbidly curious as to how Dreams is going to pan out. Really interesting game overall. Basically, the premise is that it is a, free canvas for you to do whatever you would like to do on it. And that's something that's very interesting to me, something that's very exciting, I may say. So we'll see how that all shapes up. But again, if you did want to get in on that public beta, you can sign up starting tomorrow, January the 4th. But that wraps up today's episode of Caffeinate. If you did enjoy today's show, be sure to drop me a like down below if you are watching on the YouTube video. And if you happen to be listening to the podcast service, I appreciate you as well, and I hope you did enjoy what you heard. And if you are new to the show, be sure to click that subscribe button, click that RSS feed button, whatever you might have to click to get it delivered to your ears every single weekday at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time if you did want to check it out. But I appreciate you guys for watching another episode of Caffeinate, and I thank you so much for hanging out. But I will talk to you tomorrow, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and peace.